Hey, welcome to Up and Up, a show created by the LTV Intern team to highlight emerging artists and creative entrepreneurs. I'm Eileen Considine, a film student at NYU, and here we have Aly Dayton, a fashion design student at FIT. So Aly, how did you get into fashion design?
So originally I wanted to pursue fine arts, but I realized I liked drawing clothing a lot, and that's how my interest in fashion design as a whole started.
Oh, very interesting. So do you want to talk about a little bit about your path and where you see yourself going in the future?
Right now, I just finished my freshman year at school because I took a gap year because of COVID, and I plan on getting my associate's degree next year, then getting my bachelor's after another 2 years, and hopefully having some internships in between, and then maybe making my own brand or working for another designer.
You mentioned that you took a gap year, so what did that look like for you, and how did that shape your designing now?
Well, I was working at a clothing store in town, but on my free time, honestly, I was on the internet a lot. I was watching a lot of runway shows from designers I look up to and reading a lot online, and I learned a lot in that year and developed my own style from social media and things around me in the world and how I felt during COVID, and that really helped me creative-wise.
So I know a lot of people don't know what a fashion designer is, so can you kind of explain what your definition of a fashion designer is and how that might differ from what society thinks that a fashion designer is?
Mm-hmm. So a fashion designer is not a stylist. You're not picking items of clothing to go together, and you're sort of designing just from your imagination, your mind, creatively taking your vision and creating art out of that.
Okay. And how would you describe your fashion sense?
In terms of how I dress, I'd say I'm pretty comfy and casual most of the time, but when I design, I like to be a little more creative and out there, and it's stuff I would want to wear if I made it one day. I'm still trying to hone in on one section of fashion that I want to focus on once I create my own brand or work for another brand.
What kind of movies and shows possibly inspired your work?
Well, movies, shows, and music were really inspirational to me. My dad is not just an artist, he also has been in bands. He's a musician. My mom's also in a band. So music was always there, classic rock and punk music, and I always listened to that, and I really like that kind of music. Now I like different styles of music as well that influence me. In terms of movies, I think that's the most influential because I'm also a little interested in costume design. So of course, since I was little, Clueless is a classic fashion movie. Also, The Devil Wears Prada, those really influenced me into really liking fashion. But I love Star Wars, and movies like that are less about clothes in the movie and more about a concept. So futuristic and sci-fi sort of things inspire my work as well.
Okay, so you're very open to even becoming a costume designer
Yes.
in the future.
Mm-hmm.
You basically that entire
Yes, I love
scope
movies
of
and
it.
shows.
And for people who maybe want to start designing but don't feel as confident in their artwork or how they can draw the figurines that you have created, what is your advice towards that? Or do you think it's essential to know how to draw figurines? I don't know how much of that is incorporated.
So the figures, also known as croquis, I didn't know how to draw them either, but I saw when I realized I had to apply to fashion schools that that's usually necessary for the application process. So I actually took high school classes at FIT in the city, which is where I attend now, and I took a drawing class and a sewing class because I had no idea how to do any of that related to fashion other than doing it myself, which was not great. Even though I had the mindset, I needed to learn professionally. So the high school classes definitely helped. I learned how to sew. I sewed a pair of pants and a shirt, and I learned how to draw the croquis, the really tall model figures.
That's interesting, yeah. So you would definitely advise for people to,
yes,
learn how to do that. And, obviously you're a fashionista, you love shopping. Where is your favorite local shopping spot?
Well, I work at a store called Click in East Hampton. I've worked there since I was 15, so 5 years. It was really fun to me to start working there because the clothes weren't my style, but I began to understand the customer and understand like different points of fashion that I had never been focused on before, which really helped me because there were so many areas that like I might not understand the style or like it, but now because of that job I feel like I can understand any sort of fashion that someone may like to wear, even if it wasn't my taste. But like I have an appreciation for any type of style like that.
Now getting on to the juicy stuff, guys.
Okay.
What is your hot take on Shein, or Sheen, whatever they call it nowadays?
My take on fast fashion is I know it's essential for some people to buy clothing that is cheap just because they need clothes. I'd always recommend thrifting, but that's not accessible to everyone. Like, for example, us, the nearest thrift store is like an hour and a half away. So for some people, it is necessary to like shop at Forever 21 or Shein so they can get clothes to like they need to wear. But my opinion is that if you already have the essentials that you need, there's no need to feed into like companies that are really unsustainable and bad for the environment. Like I really don't need any more clothes, so instead of buying like into fast fashion, I thrift or shop at small businesses or sustainable businesses, and I save up my money because I no longer need to just buy essential clothing. But I understand that some people do need to do that. But like the $500 TikTok Shein hauls, that is a little unnecessary, guys.
How do you plan in the future, or how do you already include sustainability within your brand, and how you want to in the future if you haven't?
Actually, for my application process to FIT, I made a recycled denim skirt. I had all these pairs of jeans from like when I was really little that no longer fit me. And I took a pair or two from like family members that had pairs that they didn't need anymore, and I thrifted a pair or two, and I cut little squares and I made like a checkered denim skirt. And then with the scraps of that were no longer usable to make another garment, I made like a collage of myself to show like my place in the future of sustainability and fashion.
Okay, that's really cool. I wanted to also ask what your favorite brand or designer is.
I have a couple favorites. High fashion wise, I love Marc Jacobs. I love like Junya Watanabe and Rei Kawakubo for Comme des Garçons. I love, recently I made a collection inspired by Cristobal Balenciaga, like 50s and 60s Balenciaga, and that was really inspirational. And I like a lot of designers. One of my favorite brands is Hysteric Glamour. I wear their clothes a lot. I get it all like vintage on eBay or Depop because it's really hard to get their stuff like brand new.
So how would you describe your personal designing process?
So for every project I work on, it can be a little different. Like sometimes I'll go to the fabric stores and find a swatch I really like, and then find swatches that relate to that one, and I can already like see in my mind what I want to make out of that like piece of fabric. But sometimes I have an idea beforehand and I draw it, and then it's a little more difficult because you have to find like the exact fabric you were thinking of, so it changes up a little bit then. But I'll start with that, and then I'll go into designing and drawing and changing and tweaking things little by little, like closures, exact silhouettes as I go along, and then I'll color all my drawings in, and sometimes maybe I'll make a piece or two, yeah.
Another question that we had, and hopefully this can help out our viewers, is what are the upcoming trends? Do you have some like secret stuff?
Summer trend forecast?
The forecast.
The real trend is like buying jeans, like, because that's a staple for everyone. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I hate high-waisted, oh, I hate low-waisted. Everyone like looks good in like their own type of jean, in my opinion. I'm still like anti-skinny jean because I think those look a little...
those were scarring.
Yeah, they scarred me from my past. But buy for you. You don't have to buy into the trends. Like, what's gonna last for you is like not what you see on Instagram or TikTok like one time, and then like in a month it's like really gross. But if you like something, even if it's a little out there and you're afraid to wear it, I'd say get that. Trends are cute, but you know, we can move on from that. Like, find your own thing and, you know, wear what you like.
Not be scarred by skinny jeans.
Don't not wear something because people think it's bad, because I think it's like cooler if you wear something like a little a little out
Unhinged.
there, a little like some people think it's like ugly, but I think that's cool.
Yeah, I agree with that. So for a very hot take, as some may say, do you think college, university is needed for your career or not really?
Like designers that I look up to, a lot of them didn't go to school, but a lot of them did. So it differs from person to person, like whether you have that like creative sense and that talent right away and you have connections to make it yourself. Like you can succeed without school, but personally, I want to go to school for all 4 years, not just 2 years, because that's also offered at FIT, because I think it's hard enough as it is to get a job in this industry, and I want to know and learn as much as I can.
Have you gotten any kind of like standout opportunities from FIT or anything that, you know, you got to experience in your first year?
FIT does offer students to work at Fashion Week and volunteer at Fashion Week. Unfortunately, my classes were scheduled at the same time as some of the events. I didn't know at the time that my teachers would be fine with it. They were fine with anyone going to, like, you can help set up before the show, like check the model walks, like you see the models go around and they set up all the shows beforehand and they're there to help backstage and stuff. Some of my friends did it, not everyone, but definitely a good experience if you have the time.
And what do you think your next like short-term goal is?
I mostly draw, and I do make clothes too, but I want to make more clothing and sew more clothing because I feel like I always push that away and procrastinate actually making the stuff. So next year and this summer, I'm gonna make a lot of things.
So kind of like work on your like technique and like stuff like that.
On technique, exactly.
That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So is there anything that you're currently working on right now?
I made, in my draping class this year, in my second semester, I draped like this half a jacket and out of muslin on a dress form, and this summer I'm gonna take apart that drape, make a pattern out of it, and I'm gonna make it into a real denim jacket.
Oh,
and I'm really excited to do that. It's gonna be happening soon.
Okay. Let's take a look at some of your work, and you can kind of guide us through your thinking process while you created it, and, you know, see some of your swagalicious style.
So here we have my final project this year. It was my Balenciaga x Howl's Moving Castle project, showcasing the historic designs of Cristobal Balenciaga and inspired by one of my favorite movies. So next here we have the fabrics. I used some wool, not a lot of patterns, some silk, satin, and some see-through fabrics, and some ostrich feathers. These fabrics I found at the store, and they inspired me just by looking at them based on the color palette of my collection, and I thought they'd be really cute. My first two designs are inspired by the classic baby doll silhouette known for this time period during Balenciaga, and a long skirt suit inspired by one of the characters in the film. The next outfit, we have a side profile of the first dress and a back view of one of the nightwear looks in this collection. Next, you'll see the front view of that same look with this sheer shirt, a pink bra, and bow details. Balenciaga used a lot of bows, and a wool skirt with a puffed back, as well as an ostrich feather evening dress with a matching hat. And to tie in the ostrich feathers again, I made this nightwear look, another baby doll silhouette made of a puffed blue wool and an ostrich feather coat. And also a satin dress inspired by the main character Howl and the cape he wears during the show with a diamond print. My favorite look in this collection was the daytime coat look I made, inspired again by the main character Howl. It's a baby doll coat. It looks a little bit like a dress made of wool, and a wool two-piece set inspired by the other main character Sophie, with a sheer shirt with a clover pattern underneath and some bows.